back. It's the second annual readathon for the book Fairies. Once upon a time where we changed children's stories and all kids had access to books to learn, grow, and thrive. Welcome back. For more information on how you can get involved, we're posting the link in the fundraising platform and the calendar of events in the comments section. We hope we can count on you to join in. Today, I'm super excited because we have Nick Bruel here. He's an author and illustrator of New York Times bestselling Boing and the Bad Kitty books, which he's going to be Bad Kitty Goes to on Vacation today, among other books. He's a freelance illustrator and cartoonist, and during his downtime, he collects Pez dispensers, which I love, and grows tomatoes in the backyard. This is the first time that you've been with us, Nick, and I am so excited because you bring a plethora of talent here. You're an author, which we all love your books, but you're also an illustrator, and you're going to give us a real treat today because you're going to be reading and also kind of drawing for us. And I wanted to also say for all of the teachers that have joined with us today, we're going to put you in a drawing. We have 5 books from Nick and also one of your cartoons that you hand drew. So we're excited of Bad Kitty. So we'll do a random drawing and you'll be notified if you won after the reading is done. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But now I feel bad. I left my plethora of talent in the trunk of my car. I don't think there's enough time for me to run and get it, but we'll just make do with what I have on me on hand right now.
I'm going to turn my video off, so we're going to let you do what you have to do. When you're completely done, and I know yours takes about 25 minutes, which is awesome. When I come back home, we'll have time for anybody who wants to stay on. We'll ask and answer questions. So I'm going to let you get to do what you do best.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the warning. I didn't want to panic when your screen goes black. Thank you for joining me today. As you've gathered by now, my name is Nick Bruel, and I have this amazing job where I get to write and illustrate books for kids. Best part of this job? My absolute favorite part of this job where I get to write and illustrate books for kids, is that every now and then it gives me the opportunity to actually meet kids, albeit sometimes, such as right now, virtually. So anyway, this is what I think we'll do. I think we'll begin by my reading from the newest Bad Kitty chapter book, Bad Kitty Goes on Vacation. By the way, now in glorious Technicolor, something else, right? Blinding. After that, I want to do not just 1, but 2 drawing exercises, demonstrations. And I mention this now because now would be a good time, if you choose to maybe run and get yourself a sheet of paper, or actually 2 or 3, and a pen or a pencil or marker. Not mandatory, it's optional. You can just watch and that would be just fine. After that, I'll take as many questions as I can. Sound like a plan? I'll assume yes. All right, so before I actually read to you from Bad Kitty Goes on Vacation, I want to tell you a story. A story I want to tell you is not about me. The story is not even about Kitty. The story is about Uncle Murray. Now, one of the most common questions I get, and might even be a question that some of you have, is, who is Uncle Murray? Where did he come from? Does he exist? The best way for me to answer that question would be for me to go back in time, back to when I was writing the very first Bad Kitty book. Now, the very first Bad Kitty book was not a chapter book, all right? It was a picture book. It was simply called Bad Kitty. It was a simple story. It was about a cat who does not get the food she wants one day, and the food is listed in alphabetical order. So in retaliation, she commits all these acts of mayhem, and she does it in alphabetical order. But then she does get the food she wants in alphabetical order and more or less makes amends in alphabetical order. When I was writing the alphabet of foods and animals that Kitty wanted to eat, I got to the letter U and I was stuck. I mean it. I was stuck. I could not think of an animal or a food that began with the letter U. I mean, yes, there are unicorns, but they don't exist. It didn't really seem to fit with my book. So I thought about it for a while. And by a while, I mean like many days. And it occurred to me one moment that for the letter U, it might be kind of funny if I wrote Uncle someone. And if I was going to write Uncle anyone, it had to be my own real life Uncle Murray. See, because when I was a kid, I had a real life Uncle Murray. I depict him kind of as I remember him. He was big and doughy. He was mostly bald. I would visit him at home. See, he was always walking around in his pajama pants and a stained gray t-shirt. And I loved my Uncle Murray. My Uncle Murray used to tell me all sorts of stories that were, possibly inappropriate for my age about his friendship with a famous Hollywood comedy team called Abbott and Costello. Now, a lot of you kids, a lot of you students, you might not know who Abbott and Costello are, but I guarantee that a lot of your moms and dads, a lot of your teachers, a lot of the grown-ups in your world, they do know who Abbott and Costello are. So I'm giving everyone a little assignment. It's okay. Don't worry. You'll like it. Try to find a movie. Maybe it's streaming, but maybe you'll have to rent it or even purchase it. Find a movie titled Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. If you like funny movies, you will love this movie. If you like scary movies, you will love this movie. It's not too scary. And while you are watching Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, you can point to the screen and you can say, hey, those two guys used to play poker every Thursday night with the real life Uncle Murray. So, why did I tell you this story? I told you this story because this book, Bad Kitty Goes on Vacation, is just as much about Murray as it is about Kitty herself. And so in honor of the real life Uncle Murray, I thought I would model this book after an Abbott and Costello movie. And the chapter I'm going to read to you from is very much modeled after the kind of scene or comedy routine you would see in an Abbott and Costello movie. And in order to show you that, I am now going to switch over to my handy dandy fancy schmancy document camera, where I will read to you from Bad Kitty Goes on Vacation. Chapter 3, At the Airport. And here we see Kitty, we see Murray, he's dragging the luggage, and he says, well, we made good time getting to the airport, Cat. In fact, we're early. I'm starting to feel, happy about this trip. I feel like nothing could possibly go. Hey, you! You can't take your cat into the airport. Oh, hello, Mr. Airport Security Officer. She's not my cat. What do you mean she's not your cat? That is to say, she doesn't belong to me, but we're traveling together. If you're traveling with a cat, the cat has to be in a pet carrier. Don't say that word. What word? Carrier. I can say what I want. Carrier. No, please don't. Carrier, carrier, carrier. Okay, I get the message. Let's go, cat. Try not to kill me while I put you into the you-know-what. 1 hour later. Well, cat, it wasn't easy. But I got you inside the carrier just like the nice man wanted. And I only blacked out from the pain once. We lost a lot of time, but we should still be able to get to our flight on. Hey, you! You can't take that carrier onto a plane. But, Mr. Airport Security Officer, sir, you're the one who told me to put the cat into a carrier. It's too big. You gotta put the cat into a carrier that'll fit under a plane seat. Do you have any idea What it took to put this cat into a carrier in the first place? My blood type is very rare. And now you're telling me to take this cat out of this carrier and put her into an even smaller carrier? You better do it if you want to get on that plane. Here we go again, cat. I hope it doesn't rain at my funeral, but if it does, I hope someone gives Aunt Esther an umbrella because the cheap dye she uses in her hair turns blue when it gets wet. 45 minutes later. It's gonna be close, cat. But we've got you in the right carrier. We're on the security line. My vision is starting to come back. And with a little luck, we'll still catch our flight. Hey, you! Of course. You gotta take that cat out of the carrier. Are you kidding me? You can't put that cat through the luggage scanner. It's not safe for the cat. Oi. First, you tell me to put the cat into a carrier. Then you tell me to take the cat out of the carrier and put her into another carrier. Now you want me to take the cat out of the carrier again. Let me guess what you'll make me do when I go through security. Put her back into the carrier. Make up your mind. If you don't like it, maybe you should drive. Well, maybe I will. Maybe you should. Maybe I will. Maybe you should. Maybe I will. Maybe you should. Maybe I will. Me and my big mouth. The end to chapter 3 of Bad Kitty Goes on Vacation. A little word of warning. If you ever plan to read this book out loud, you'll want to have a glass of water on hand because chapter 3 in particular can be a little rough on the pipes. Please spare me a moment. Hydrated. Wonderful. I want to show you a drawing exercise I do. It's something I do sometimes just for my own amusement, but I've also done this with my family and my daughter. It's a little drawing exercise I call chimera. Before we get into the exercise itself, let's define our terms. Exactly what is a chimera? A chimera was a mythological beast, meaning it did not exist, from ancient Greece. And it was an amalgam of different animals that were sort of smashed together to form one creature. So it was commonly depicted as having the head and the body of a lion. But then it had a second head, that of a goat. It was usually depicted as being right behind the lion head or sticking out from between the two shoulder blades. And then instead of a tail, there was a snake or a serpent. Oh, and before I forget, the goat head, the one I was just telling you about, it could breathe fire because apparently that's what goats could do in ancient Greece. Anyway, you don't need a lot for this exercise. You need, of course, something to draw with. I'm going to use this marker here. And then you need at least 2 sheets of paper. Now, 1 sheet of paper is for drawing on, of course. The other sheet of paper, you're going to cut up into pieces. And onto each piece of paper, you're going to write the name of an animal. So like, for instance, bee. Here's another one on the top, horse. As you can see, I've already done this. Now, I like to put the pieces of paper into a bowl because it's sort of fun for me to shuffle my hands around. But you can also just stack them like a deck of cards. Now, in order to demonstrate this exercise, what I am going to do is pick 3 animals at random from this bowl. And they are going to comprise the animals that will form my chimera. You'll see what I mean in a moment. All right, so let's just see what we get. Pig. Oh, that's a good one. The pig is going to be the head of my chimera. All right, we're moving along nicely here. Another animal. We're doing really well today. tiger. The tiger is going to be the body of my chimera. One more. Let's find out. Squirrel. I don't think I've ever had squirrel before. Squirrel is going to be the legs, and I think in this case, maybe fluffy tail of our chimera. Now, in order to show you what I'm talking about, I am now going to flip back over to my handy dandy fancy schmancy document camera. See you in a moment. All right, so just to review, these are the three animals I chose: pig, tiger, and squirrel. They are going to be the head, body, and legs of my chimera. I've got it all committed to memory, so I'm going to set these aside. All right, so the first animal I chose was pig, and the pig's going to be the head of my chimera. Now, pigs, of course, are best recognized for having these lovely snouts. We'll make this a happy pig. But one of the nice things about pigs, they also have these really cool, big, floppy, big ears. So we're going to make sure that this pig has big old ears. And if we're to believe the literature, they have hairs on their chinny chin chin. So we're going to put hairs on his chinny chin chin. All right, so that is our head of our chimera. Next, we do the body. Do you remember what animal I chose for that? Tiger. Now, tigers have very different bodies than pigs. For instance, tigers have sort of fluffy bodies. And what, of course, makes a tiger, their stripes. So we're going to take a moment to put some stripes down. Now, I don't want to put too many stripes down because we got things to do here. I don't want to take up all your time making stripes on chimeras, as fun as it may be. Now, I think we're going to stop right there. But do you remember the last animal I chose? That's right, squirrel. Squirrels are much smaller than tigers, at least according to the scientific studies I've read. So we're going to give this guy little legs. Little legs. Little pointy toes, because they have those pointy toes that they use to climb trees, which are great. And what did I just say? I didn't leave myself nearly as much room as I'd like, but we're going to give this guy a fluffy squirrel tail. All right. And one more stripe for good measure. Well, you know what? We'll give him stripes on his legs too, because this is a chimera that's part tiger. So even though they're squirrel legs, they're going to have stripes on them. All right, so that's my chimera. My chimera that has the head of a pig, the body of a tiger, and the legs and fluffy tail of a squirrel. I just have two more things to do. The first thing I need to do is I need to name my chimera. Now, I could just take the easy route and name this guy George or Nancy, but I'm going to name this chimera after the animals that comprise it. So this is a pig, tiger, squirrel. I'm going to name this chimera Pigaril. This is a pigaril. If anyone ever wants to know what a pigaril looks like, you can draw them one of these. What's the last thing I need to do? The very last thing I need to do is to sign my name, because anytime you write a story or make a drawing, anytime you do anything creative, you need to attach your name to it somehow to claim it as your own. So I got a lot of room right here. So this is where I'm going to sign my name, which, as you all know, is Nick Bruel. Well, hopefully that looked like fun. It occurs to me that there are a lot of different variations to this exercise. For instance, I did this all by myself, but you can do this chimera exercise as a group. And here's how. Same tools, something to draw with, and then at least 2 sheets of paper. The first person picks an animal and draws the head of the chimera, but then passes the paper down to the second person, who picks another animal and draws the body of the chimera, then passes the paper down to the third, who picks an animal for the legs, and so on and so forth. Now, I only chose 3 animals. It occurs to me that it might be interesting if you chose more than 3 animals. I mean, imagine how wild your chimera would look if you picked 4 or 5 or maybe even more animals. Which brings me to another point. I haven't even tried this yet, so maybe you can. What if instead of an animal, every now and then you wrote down something that was not an animal, like broccoli or cauliflower or Batman, or maybe even your mom? Although, having said that, I absolve myself of any responsibility. If you get into trouble because you drew a chimera with the face of your mom, the neck of a giraffe, and so on and so forth, be it on your head, not mine, that is legally binding. Let's draw Kitty. Okay, so now here's the thing. I promised myself this morning that before I got on with you, that I wasn't going to be the guy who got a lovely blank sheet of paper and a marker and then said to you, all right, children, this is how you draw a bad kitty. No, because as I understand it, a lot of you are in school right now, and school is a place where you go to learn something new every day. And the most you're going to learn from watching me draw bad kitties, how I draw cats, and not even necessarily how you would draw your own cats. So I always say it's like learning how to sing by watching American Idol. Don't get me wrong, totally amusing, completely entertaining, just not, educationally relevant. So this is what I'm going to do. I am, of course, going to draw bad kitty. But while I'm doing that, I want to show you the hardest part. I want to show you the biggest challenge that I face each and every single time I have to draw this character. And that is giving her feelings, emotions. See, feelings and emotions are really important in stories. Every single character in every single story you have ever read, you're ever going to read, those characters needed feelings to seem real. But I've got a problem. It's kind of a big problem. My problem is that I created a character who does not talk. Kitty doesn't talk. She's a cat. But because she doesn't talk, she can't just tell us what she's thinking. She can't just tell us what she's feeling. The only way to know what Kitty is thinking or feeling is by seeing the expressions on her face. That's my challenge. I'm going to show you how I approach that challenge each and every single time. How, you ask? Why, with the help of my handy dandy fancy smancy document camera, of course. So, got my paper, got my marker. Let's draw Kitty. When I'm drawing Kitty, I always start in the middle of her face with the part of the body called the elbow. Wait, that doesn't sound right. I have to review. Hold on. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, and eyes and ears and mouth and nose, nose. That's her nose. I knew that. Sorry, I was distracted, I guess. All right. Now below her nose, I draw her mouth. All right. Now above her nose, I'm going to draw these 2 circles. And these 2 circles, of course, are her gallbladder. Wait, that doesn't sound right either. Hold on a second. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, and eyes and eyes. Eyes, those are eyes. I knew that. Sorry. Distracted again. Now above her eyes, I'm going to draw these sort of 4 hairy deals. Now next come her ears. And my research shows that all cats have 2 ears. So I always give her 2 ears for the sake of scientific authenticity. If you ever run across a cat that has more or less than 2 ears, medical attention might be necessary. Next came these whiskery deals, and you'll notice that the ones in the middle are a little longer than the other 2, just sort of balances her head nicely. All right, we'll stop with her skinny neck and shoulders, that little tuft of white fur on her chest. And that's Kitty. Hi, Kitty. But I'm not really done yet. You see, because I call this blank-faced Kitty. She doesn't really have an expression, at least not yet. You cannot look at this face and know for sure what she's thinking. You certainly cannot look at this face and know for sure what she's feeling. That is about to change, because with a single stroke of this marker, I'm going to turn this blank expressionless Kitty into annoyed Kitty. This is going to happen quickly, so pay attention. Here we go. No expression. Annoyed. In case you missed it the first time. No expression. Annoyed. No expression. Annoyed. You see, the smallest detail can make a huge difference. It's knowing where to put that detail. That's my challenge. To further illustrate this point, literally, I'm going to do this 3 more times. Now, to save time, I'm not going to draw her whole head. All right, I'm not going to bother with the hair or the ears or the whiskers. I'm just going to focus on the important parts of her face. But you may have noticed already that those 2 circles, her eyes, I'm making them a little bigger than I did last time. And I'm going to do this 3 times. All right, so I have 3 kitty faces. They're pretty much the same, right? They're pretty much identical. But obviously something is still missing. By the time I'm finished, this first one is going to be surprised kitty, okay? This next one over here, this one is going to be crazy kitty, all right? This last one down here is going to be adorable kitty. All right, so first things first, surprise kitty. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2. That was easy, but check this out. I never get tired of this. This is my favorite part, all right? All I did was add 2 dots. And just by adding 2 dots, look at how much more alive that face suddenly becomes compared to the other 2. I never get tired of that. All right, next, crazy kitty. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2. It's not so hard, right? All right, last but certainly not least, adorable kitty. 1, 2. I had 3 kitty faces. They used to be the same. They used to be identical. By the time I was done, the only difference between surprised, crazy, and adorable was where I put the dots for her eyes and how big I made them. Learning these details, that ones that make such a huge difference, took me a lot of time. Took me a lot of practice to learn how to draw the faces of this character. To this day, it still remains the hardest part of my job. I now open the floors to questions from you guys. That's your cue, book fairies. Come on back and share those questions with me.
My video wouldn't start. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
And I was drawing and it didn't come out that well, but I
Oh,
tried.
I think it looks lovely.
I'm not the artist in the family, that's for sure. So someone said, can I have a shout out? Because this is my favorite book, but they don't have a name. So whoever.
Well, I'll
whoever
shout out to you anyway.
We're going to shout out to you anyway. So we have one question here. It said, which do you like better, writing a book or illustrating a book?
Oh, what a fascinating question. The funny thing about what I do, and first of all, I'm very lucky that I'm able to write and illustrate my stories, is that this will sound like a cop-out answer, and maybe it is, but I kind of like them pretty equally. But the reason I say that is when I'm writing a story, I cannot wait to start illustrating it. And when I'm illustrating that story, I cannot wait to start writing the next story. So in a way, I live in this world of constant anticipation where I'm looking forward to the next step in everything I do. If anything, I consider myself very lucky that I can do both. It's a great question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And you're very talented because you can do both. It's amazing. One of the teachers wants to know, how long did it take for you to learn how to draw?
Oh, interesting. How long did it take for me to learn how to draw? I'm going to answer that question two ways. First, to say, well, I'm still learning how to draw. I'm always learning how to draw. There's always something new or some new challenge in a story I'm trying to tell, and how I want to illustrate it that I need to figure out. So the process of writing and illustrating are both constant learning processes. But because it's such an important question, I will share with you the secret to learning how to draw anything. It's a very simple secret. It's only 3 words, but those words are copy, copy, copy. See, when I was a kid, I wanted to draw Batman comics. I wanted to draw Charlie Brown and Snoopy from Peanuts. I wanted to draw cartoons for Mad Magazine. So this is what I would do. I would get an issue of Batman comics, put it right next to me. I would get the newspaper with Charlie Brown and Snoopy, put it down next to me. I would get an issue of Mad Magazine, put it right there. Then I'd get a piece of paper and I would try to copy the cartoons or the drawings that I saw. I think it's important, it might even be necessary, to take tracing paper and to trace over a drawing that you like, because that way you learn how that artist, that illustrator did what they did. So if you want to learn how to draw anything, and it's something that will continue forever, so long as you want to draw, you have to copy, copy, copy. It's how I learned. It's how everybody who draws anything learned themselves. Great question.
Great. That's great advice. Mrs. Facina's class at PS 349 wants to know when you started writing books.
When did I first start writing books? Well, again, there are 2 ways for me to answer that question, aren't there? I've got time. I'm in a generous mood. I'm going to answer it both ways. So on one hand, I first started writing books that were published all the way. Well, my first book was called Boing, about a baby kangaroo that learned how to go boing. And Bad Kitty came out the following year. Boing came out in 2004. All right. So that was a while ago. We're closing in on 2 decades. But here's the point. Just because you write a story and it doesn't become a book that you can see on the shelves of a bookcase in the library or in a bookstore, doesn't mean it's not a book. Of course it's a book. It just hasn't been published. So the other way for me to answer that question is to say with all sincerity that I've been writing books and stories since I was in 1st grade. Because when I was in 1st grade, there was absolutely nothing I loved to do more than to sit down at the table with a big blank sheet of paper with a pencil, pen, crayon, wherever I get my little hands on, and just start writing and drawing stories. So that's what I did. I was writing and drawing stories in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th and 5th grade. I was writing and drawing stories in middle school and high school and in college, and for all those years since college. I've been writing and drawing stories pretty much all my life. It just so happens that I love writing and drawing stories now as much as I did when I was in 1st grade. So thank you for that great question.
Yeah, we have a lot of good questions. Hopefully we can get to a couple more.
Sure.
Annie from PS 123Q, why did you write Bad Kitty?
Why did I write Bad Kitty? I think the best way for me to answer that question would be to tell you the story about how I came up with the idea for Bad Kitty. Maybe that'll answer your question. So I use a sort of creative device in order to inspire me to find stories. And the device is, instead of thinking of the story first, or the plot or the character or anything, I think of the title first. This is true. And I'll tell you why this is. If you've ever tried writing a story, you find that writing a story can be very difficult, but writing a title can be very easy because a title can be just one, maybe two words. So this is what happened. It was about 18 years ago now. I was sitting at my desk. I had a big blank sheet of paper in front of me. I had a pen in my hand. And instead of writing a story, I thought, I'm just going to write down titles. Titles I'd never seen before, titles I didn't think existed. So I just started writing them down, title after title after title. They're just one or two words each. They didn't necessarily have to become stories, but after a while, after writing some titles that I liked and some titles that I didn't like, I wrote down one title that I really liked, and that title was Bad Kitty. I loved that title. So I started asking myself questions, and that's really important to do when you want to write a story. Ask yourself questions. So I asked myself the question, okay, if I've got a story about a cat doing something bad, what does she do that's so bad? I came up with so many ideas, and I was writing them all down, that it occurred to me it might be interesting if I put them into alphabetical order. So then I asked myself the next important question, which was, okay, why would this cat do all these terrible things? And knowing cats like I did, food is so instrumental in their behavior. So I thought, okay, I will do an alphabet of foods that she does not like. And that is how the very first Bad Kitty book took shape. Arguably, that is how this entire Bad Kitty empire was born, purely from my sitting and contemplating those two little words, Bad and Kitty.
And it is quite an empire, that's for sure. And we had one last question. Leah Wade from PS349 wants to know, what is your favorite book of Bad Kitty?
Oh, good question. What is my favorite book of Bad Kitty? Leah, that is probably the most popular question I am asked. And that's because it's such a good one. The only problem is that after all this time, after writing all these books, I still don't have a satisfying answer. Because the same, I always give the same answer, and I probably always will give the same answer, which is, I don't have a favorite Bad Kitty book. I can at least tell you why I don't have a favorite Bad Kitty book. And that's because I think of the question as being a lot like what would happen if you were to ask someone who had lots of kids, of all your children, which one is your favorite child? That person would say to you, I don't have a favorite child. They are all special and unique to me for different reasons. They come to me with special and unique joys, special and unique challenges. And that is how I feel about my books. Great question, though. Thank you.
We inevitably get that question for all of the authors, and they all say the same thing. They're like, it's like asking me what my favorite child is. So your answer is right on.
I doubt the authors give you an answer with such a long-winded response as I do, though.
You're animated and you're entertaining. They all are too, but you got that artistic side to you, so it's great. I think we're out of time right now, so I want to thank everybody for participating. I want to thank you for joining us. This is your first year with us. We're going to be doing it every year. I hope you'll come back next year and be a part of our mission and really helping to remove access to books as a barrier to achieving literacy, because reading is essential and it starts with the book, and your books are the best books to start with. They're entertaining. They're giving you your ABCs. You've got a bunch of different benefits to reading your book. So that's a great thing.
Oh,
so I want to thank
Mom.
You can pay me later. And I want to thank you for that. And I always end our Reader Lives with thanking our sponsors, because that's what this is all about, is funding our mission so that we can continue to put books in the hands of amazing children like those that are with us today, and giving them the same opportunities that other children have. So we love that. And our sponsors are Moral Arm Security, PC Richard, Serini and Associates, Jovia Financial, and our honoree and sponsor is Investors Bank. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to you, Nick. We look forward to having you back again next year, and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had a great time, and we'll see you next year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.